Hey guys, today we're going to talk about vocabulary and context. I know this is a kind of problem that a lot of you struggle with. And others of you might just want to get all the tips of like, what do I do when they're really hard, which might not be all the time, but you want to know, how do I do that? So that's what we're going to get into right now. First of all, I kind of have 4 steps in order of how I approach these. As most of you know, vocabulary and context are questions like this. It's like in line 1, the word single most nearly means. That's basically what it is, right? The first thing that I'm going to do here in these vocabulary and context questions is I'm going to find the perfect answer. So this is like a basic kind of strategy that I'm using on the reading comprehension section throughout, but I do it here too. I look for my perfect answer. If this works out, it's usually pretty fast, pretty easy, and I move on very quickly, okay? So when this works, it's great. It doesn't always work, but this is sort of my first, plan of attack. And what I do is first I scribble out the word, or I don't look at the word that I see that I'm going to be trying to replace. And then I read the whole sentence, starting here, and then I end over here, and I try to come up with my perfect answer. What does that word mean? I read the whole sentence to understand what I would need to say, and more sentences if necessary. So if reading one sentence, I don't even totally get what's going on, and I feel like I need a little more context, maybe I read a little more context. And then I just try to figure out what is the perfect word to put in this position here? What should that mean given the context? I maybe even don't look at what the word is at all. I won't even look at what the word is. Try to figure out what it is. And then maybe I read it with the word in there, and then I try to vibe out just what does it mean? Sometimes I'll do that too. One or the other. Sometimes I scribble it out. Sometimes, I'll read it in place to try to see what does that word mean right here, right? And I really just try to isolate this either without the word or with the word. I'll go back and forth to really try to hone in on what is all of this saying, and then what impact does this word have on this sentence, and what does it mean in context, right? I really try to come up with that. I find my perfect answer, and then I try to look among my answer choices, see if I can find what I'm looking for, and I eliminate anything way off base. But if more than one answer still seems to work, or if I really can't seem to find anything that's dead on to what I came up with, that's when I get into trouble, and I start to turn to other strategies. The next thing that I'll do is I'll isolate my answer choices. So if I go down to my answer choices, I think, okay, I want, my word in context, maybe it's, we'll go down to an example. It is a truth universally acknowledged, this is the beginning of Pride and Prejudice, that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. So if I just read this, that a single man in possession of a good fortune, right? Maybe I read that part and I'm like, an individual man, an only man, just a man. Maybe that's what I think it means. And then maybe I think it means particular, right? But I really haven't read enough. So make sure you read all the way. Must be in want of a wife. And even here, I might not be 100% sure, but this must be in want of a wife, right? However little is known of the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood, this truth so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding families that he is considered the rightful property of some or one of their daughters. So these are families trying to marry off their daughters to this guy who is single. Oh, I know what single means. It means single, like you need a date, like you're not married, right? So this is unmarried, right? So unmarried is my perfect word. And then I go down here, but you see what happens. Lonely, distinct, particular, unattached. And I go, I don't see unmarried. Uh-oh, bum, bum, bum. I'm in trouble, right? Now, some of you might know that one of these is potentially a synonym to unmarried, but my point is, which I'm trying to get across to you, sometimes you don't know, right? Sometimes you know your perfect word, unmarried, but you don't see it there. And then you go, gosh, golly, gee, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what's going on, right? Though the goal is hang on to this. That's your gold, okay, is your perfect answer. So that's how we find the perfect answer. But sometimes you look down and you go, I have no idea which of those means unmarried. And so then I go to step 2. And again, step 2 is isolate your answer choices. And when we do this, I want you to imagine what each word means. I don't want you to think about the passage at all. I want you to divorce your brain from the passage. Focus on the meaning of each word. Ask yourself what it means. When do I use it? Can you eliminate choices because they naturally spring to mind in a way that's off base? Or the core of the answer includes connotations that are off. This is vibe. Remember how vibe is so important on this test. It's so important on these. Vibe. What's the connotation? What's the vibe? What's the emotion? What is the vibe of the answer? Does it feel weird? Does it feel off? Compare what you came up with. What are the differences? So let's go back here. We're going to go back to our Pride and Prejudice. So I have a lonely. Lonely feels very lonely and sad. When I said unmarried, I had no idea this guy felt lonely. Do you see how that's like it's weird, right? There's a weird vibe. So this has a weird vibe, even though it makes sense that, I could do logic hops, but don't do logic hops. Logic hops are bad. A logic hop would be, if a man is single and he doesn't have a wife, then he doesn't have anybody around, so it makes sense that he would be lonely. Do you see how I logic hopped? Don't do that. That's not good. I want to see what's my perfect answer, unmarried, right? Did I get any vibe of lonely off of that? No, that he doesn't have a wife yet. Like he's just looking for a wife. That doesn't mean he's like lonely and sad and depressed, right? Overkill. So this is out on vibe.